Ladies and gents, another week of off-season talk, and as you may know already, if you watch ESPN tickers and listen to ESPN radio or listen to whatever other sports media you may listen to, it's been a lot of business going on during the NFL offseason. You know, while the XFL is growing and flourishing and going off on social media, building up a nice little following, the NFL is getting down to the nitty and or the gritty. This is the Playmakers Vlog Podcast with yours truly, Dallas Glenn, talking NFL offseason stuff. It's the NFL Combine this week, but the NFL Combine is not just the workouts. It's the measurements, the interviews, addressing the media, hearing good stuff from the players like Joe Burrow saying that he is deeply ashamed of his hand measurement and he is contemplating serious life decisions right now. And you also got Chase Young, who is not going to be working out at the Combine. At least that's what I read from multiple reports. It's one of those things where it's like top defensive end prospect. Wasn't sure he was going to enter the draft. Rose up in the Heisman. Defensive ends are defensive ends, man. A 40 ain't going to do a lot. Since he's a defensive end who's a lean type, not a big, hefty run stuffer, like a Calais Campbell at 6'8", 3 bills. Chase Young is speedy. He's probably going to be very agile at his pro day. He's probably going to put up a lot of benches at his pro day. He's going to be just fine. You don't have a defensive end like that who can instantly make your 4-3 better. And, the Combine, he's there. He's doing media. He's doing interviews. He showed up, and that's what you like to see. Tua, we knew Tua wasn't going to be able to work out. But everything seems to be going in the right direction. He's letting people see him in the flesh. That's a good move. See him in the flesh. See him walking without a cane. He has a little bit of a pimp lip going on, but no cane. Good spirits. In his sweats. In shape. Looking lean. Looking good. Didn't, gain an extra couple inches from the sedentary lifestyle you have to leave when you bust your hip. And, Joe Burrow, I was surprised when I heard Joe Burrow wasn't going to work out. But at the same time, again, you don't want to let the crowd see how the magic tricks are done. If Joe Burrow is, if it's getting kind of creaky, if he's off mentally, if something's going on, good. Bro, you just won the Heisman and had a historic college football season. Not only do you have the pro day, but you're also going to have, because you're the number one overall pick and people need to see if they want to trade up to get you, you're also going to have the top 10 workouts. You're going to be going to teams individually after the Combine. You're going to be doing what you do after your pro day. So that's good. The top 3 prospects, Tua, Chase Young, Joe Burrow, they're protecting their bodies. Also, I think that this year, more than any other year, is a good time for the top 3 prospects, a defensive end and 2 quarterbacks, to chill out. Because this CBA situation is getting kind of crazy. But before I dedicate a hefty portion of the show to the CBA situation thus far, because there have been a lot of developments, I want to see if I can squeeze out some prep talk about the Combine and what we might see. Now, the draft spots and everything, that's not my forte. that's not what I do. I don't have a big board of my top 300. I don't have a report on every DB, top DB, the best scorer. I'm not there yet. Part of the process is, looking at the Combine, seeing what your team needs that way. I know ESPN and some of the bigger names are, greatly compensating draft experts who do pay attention and make these rankings. But as far as I can tell, as far as what the Jaguars may need and what direction they may go, Derek Brown came in at 6'5", 326. Now, he's been a big boy. He was a run stuffer at Auburn, but you like to see the guy come in consistent to what the listed numbers were. When you have the big guys, when you have the guys where you are going to be a run stuffer, and if you can pass rush, great. Off season, getting all the word, coming in shape, that's good. That's nice. Andrew Thomas, tackle, who the Jaguars might be looking at, he's looking good. He's in shape. He's been answering stuff. Jerry Jeudy, that is the trap. That is media. You ask yourself, you wonder to yourself, well, why would an athlete, he's still an amateur. Yeah, he's declared for the draft, but what if he doesn't have an agency? What if he doesn't have a shoe deal? What if he doesn't have, what if he's just paying out of pocket to go to the combine and he's like a darling? If he's not working out, what's the point? Media and interviews. When you have a draft as deep as this one at the wide receiver position, and when you have a CBA that is going to raise the income of the bottom tier of players, and really is going to get down to the pennies and dimes of renegotiations and good stuff like that, salary cap issues, all that. You have a guy who tells the interesting. It's harmless, really. I don't want to overstep my boundaries because I am also not a Jewish person, but I don't think there was any malice in Jerry Jeudy explaining why he has a Star of David necklace. I just think that everybody doesn't have to be Kawhi Leonard, but that is why Kawhi Leonard does not answer personal questions. Jerry Jeudy issued a tweet. Somebody should have wrote the tweet for him. But again, these are the things you learn. And that's what the media is for. So hopefully, him saying that freely on the mic to journalists, hopefully that doesn't come back in these interviews, because these interviews are notorious. I heard that, they've changed up the practice of these interviews and they made them a little bit less cutthroat, fiery, and personal. But, we'll see, because when the wide receiver draft that's supposed to be this deep, it's not so much who gets taken first, it's do we have to take him that early? And no matter what happens with the CBA, no matter what happens with the media, no matter what happens with Madden and the new features and the new clothes and the new helmets, at the end of the day, football coaches will still say the word distraction with a negative connotation. All that being said, dude, it's not a big deal. I say all that to try to give validation to the people that really, really tried to make it seem like it was a huge thing. But, that's neither here nor there. Everything else is really just measurables right now. I believe that today, recording this on a Wednesday, I believe the benching and stuff started for the receivers. The only reason I am thinking that, not quite sure yet, is because I heard somebody drop that F-bomb after putting up 15 reps at 225 and they're only 178. So, of course, stuff like that. Of course, today is going to be taken over by CBA talk, and the only thing you hear about workouts is somebody dropping an F-bomb on a live mic. But hey, this is football. What can you do? Let's see. What else? Oh, Drew Brees. Apparently, Drew Brees is somebody who motivates Jake Fromm, Tua, and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, he seems to have the height on him. Truth be told, besides maybe the slenderness and the hand size, Joe Burrow, I don't see why Joe Burrow isn't the typical pocket passer you want. But Tua being motivated by Drew Brees, I don't see the irony in that more so than I think wow, I really hope that the New Orleans Saints and what they're about to pay him shows other NFL teams, okay, he's 6'1", he's 217, but come on. They drafted Kyler Murray number 1 overall in Arizona after picking a quarterback 10th the year before. Those three not working out at the combine, because before we planned out the week for the football stuff, the combine was supposed to be a big thing. Again, you kind of know Tua's not working out. But when Chase Young and Joe Burrow decide not to work out, it's kind of like, So when Isaiah Simmons and Andrew Thomas and Derek Brown and Okudah and Judy, like when all those numbers and stuff come out next week is when we're going to be able to talk about the stock rising and falling and stuff like that. Wide receivers are benching today, but, at the same time, they keep talking about who's going to break the 40, who's going to break the 40, who's going to break the 40. So I know years before, the NFL Combine has always been a week-long process, and they don't work out every day, but I don't know. Maybe it's because it's the first time that we're trying to cover it, but it doesn't seem like it's moving as quick as usual. It's a lot of business stuff. And to be fair, again, the other 9 combines after 2011 didn't have huge CBA talks going. So, and this is the final note, I personally, to make sure this isn't a cluster for all of you and not a cluster for myself, when all the rising and falling and stuff happens, I'm going to keep it tailored to the Jaguars. Because A, that's really how I've been closing out every show so far during the offseason. And B, because I think that's what everybody is pretty much doing. Like, there's beat writers with blue checks and, everybody's not looking at the entire big board. A lot of people are. But the beat writers and the bloggers and stuff, everybody's pretty much looking at who's been attached to their team in mock drafts and how they do. So that's really it. I know we have to pay some bills. So I'm not going to try to stretch this out any longer. Now I'm going to go to a commercial break. And then we're going to get into this nice CBA. Okay, and we're back. This is the Playmakers Blog Podcast, Football Edition with Dallas Glenn. And the CBA, what's been taking over the football news cycle even more so than the underdog, just excitement that the XFL is bringing, especially in the city of St. Louis. Shout out to the Battlehawks. But the CBA. So, neither of us played in the league. I don't know about Darnell, but I don't have any immediate friends that have played in the league. So, this issue is largely foreign. The only connection I could possibly have to the CBA or even a perspective associated with the CBA is the fact that I am a business owner and the fact that I've owned other businesses. And, to be quite transparent, every experience with employees isn't always positive. That doesn't mean that you're a heartless person. And that definitely doesn't mean that you might not be willing to go above and beyond for your employees. But stuff happens. Stuff happens. People on both sides take advantage of things. It's not always going to be a peachy relationship. With that being said, nobody can sit here and say that the NFL out of every league of the major 4 is an angel. MLB just had an entire franchise cheat for a championship. And the players are going to get off scot-free. You know who ended up getting fired in all of this? Not the owners, not the players. Coaches got fired. People who were in high-ranking positions, executives, got fired. No players were touched. If that's not a players' association being ironclad, I don't know what is. I feel like talking about the NBA and their players' association, that's not even fair. Now, hockey, they still have 7-year, $100 million, 7-year, $50-something million contracts. I don't know what's going on in hockey. I know hockey isn't as popular in the United States. I know the NHL is a binational league. It's in 2 countries. It's a national sport in Canada, but in America, yeah. So, when you got the Arizona Coyotes, the Florida Panthers, teams like that, you might be able to shell out a bunch of money like that. But again, I have no idea what it's like to run a franchise that's worth 9 figures. Nor do I want to know. Because this is getting not crazy, Because again, there was some tough times in 2011, but the quarterbacks are coming out. J.J. Watt, he's near the tail end of things. J.J. Watt has made his money for the most part at this phase of his career. He's about to start having the Larry Fitzgerald deals. J.J. Watt, a 3-4 defensive end who, and I'm not even going to front, I'm a Jaguars fan and he's a division rival, but like the Texans, Matt Schaub was a big piece, an unexpected piece. Arian Foster, Andre Johnson, contributors, Dwayne Brown. J.J. Watt was the focal point of those Houston Texans teams that were always winning the division, always in the playoffs. When J.J. Watt had 220-plus sack years back-to-back, when he was chasing the sack record that one year. J.J. Watt, from the 3-4 defensive end position, I want to say he's a 5-tech, but whatever. J.J. Watt is the franchise quarterback of the Houston Texans. And him speaking out and saying no is significant. But this isn't a Frank Clark. This isn't a Yannick Ngakoue. This isn't a D Ford. This isn't a Joey Bosa. This isn't a Melvin Ingram. This isn't a Calais Campbell. This isn't a TJ Watt. This isn't a veteran defensive end who has years to go in this league saying something. I bring up J.J. Watt and I bring up the defensive ends to say, bro, the defensive ends are like the last line of like logic and reason. Because defensive ends right now, DeMarcus Lawrence and Yannick Ngakoue are about to make, DeMarcus Lawrence set the market at 105, I believe. And I know Frank Clark, I think he got over 100 mil too. Frank Clark and DeMarcus Lawrence both got over 100 mil. Now Frank Clark just won a Super Bowl. Defensive end, get you an all-pro safety in Tyrann Mathieu. Lo and behold, your defense is just good enough to not blow up what your offense does, and you win a Super Bowl, which pretty much would have been the case last year. So that cashed out. DeMarcus Lawrence, however, you can't put the entire season on a defensive end. See, when a defensive end is like really, really good and a key part, and you can tell that he's worth the money, the double standard ain't there like it is with quarterbacks. Because you can have a 20-something sack year and go 4-12. It happens. Look at Chandler Jones. I think Chandler Jones finished as the sack leader, but what did Arizona do? They still gave Rookie of the Year to Kyler Murray. I mean, in the big scheme of things, they had the sack leader and the guy who won Offensive Rookie of the Year. How many games did they win? Were they ever competitive for the division? So, I digress, but Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, like, bro, the quarterbacks saying they don't like this new CBA. Again, full disclaimer, but I don't know if I want to hear from the quarterbacks right now. I don't know if I want to hear from the guy who did win a Super Bowl and go to another one on a third round contract, but is on like his second big deal. Russell Wilson got the I won you a Super Bowl deal, and now he's gotten we were basically supposed to be in a rebuilding phase the past 3 seasons. But because of me and Mr. Wagner, we have not been in the rebuilding phase for the past 3 seasons. And Russell Wilson and Mr. Wagner got paid. Aaron Rodgers is a Packers quarterback. He's gotten paid by a non-profit. And Tom Brady, Tom Brady is chasing that big check this year more than likely, but it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady is already there as far as endorsements. Married to a supermodel wife. Played in a big market. Tom Brady can say yes or no to what he wants to. And there's probably a lot of stuff he said no to over time because of the Patriot way. So when a quarterback says no to the CBA, stuff over the next 10 years, the 17th game check, dude, when you're playing on a 5-year, $140 million deal, yeah, the $250,000 cap ain't to your liking. Yes, understandable. But, and please, tweet. If you're listening to this episode on the radio, or if you're listening on Anchor or Stitcher or Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts, tweet or Facebook the page. Let me know if I'm wrong. But one of the things that the owners are willing to do, if they get rid of the cap on the 250, because they haven't, like the thing I read didn't necessarily specify what it means to get rid of the cap on the 250. I know that means you can earn more than $250,000 for the 17th game, but how much? Is it your average check? Or you're prorating your contract? Like, what is it? But the offseason being shortened could potentially be off the table if the players don't take the 250. Now, here's the problem. There are players who are playing on exclusive free agent rights contracts. There are players who are on the practice squad, can get called up in week 14 on like a regular deal, and in that CBA game, the 17th game, they get called up in week 14, they're going to be making like a regular contract. They're going to probably have like a prorated, like league minimum deal. But if they get called up before week 17 and write their contract, that's a prorated 16-week contract, they can get $250. And even if it's a 17-week contract, if the CBA makes them get $250 for that last game, you mean to tell me that a practice squad player is about to get paid basically what the league minimum was back in 2001 within 3 games of getting called up? Practice squad the whole year, called up week 14, $250,000 week 17. The game checks negotiated and their salary for weeks 14, 15, and 16. Bro, like, we have to think of the practice squad linebackers, the special teamers listed as a wide receiver, the long snapper that, played tight end in college. So that's why he's on the practice squad, because maybe he'll learn how to catch or block. Like, we got to think of the guys who ain't about to be in the league as a quarterback for 20 years. And when they're 42, get the pick of the litter and get teams offering them $60 million when they're 42. This is not who the CBA is for. The CBA is not for Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, like all-time up there quarterbacks. That's not what the minute details and intricacies of this CBA is for. And I think that's why a lot of the word coming out is you got reps like Ramon Foster and Calais Campbell basically saying it's not black and white. It's not cut and dry. It's not as simple as a hardcore no. There's a lot of give. And I'm not going to be like the national media guys with a blue check. Like, I'm not going to sit here and praise the entire thing because I'm wary. I'm kind of like Pat McAfee on this one. I'm starting to wonder, what is it? Because you got guys writing the iPhone notes now. You got guys putting out tweets, and that's nice, and that's well, and that's good. But I don't want to hear from the franchise player who's been on the team for almost 10 years, or in Aaron Rodgers' case, 15 years. I don't want to hear from the elder statesman and Calais Campbell, who's been a 3-time Pro Bowler and won the Walter Payton Man of the Year, like, who's solid. I need to hear from the Reuben Fosters, no, the Ramon Fosters, like Foster from Pittsburgh. I need to hear from Marquise Pouncey. Marquise Pouncey's up there. Marquise Pouncey's going to the Hall, but he's a center. I need to hear from centers. I need to hear from guards who have not been to the Pro Bowl in a while. I want to hear from second-string outside linebackers. I want to hear from nickelbacks. I want to hear from fullbacks. I want to hear from blocking tight ends. I need to hear from the other guys on the roster besides franchise quarterbacks, because here's the thing. The owners are really trying to get this thing done. Even though it wasn't a unanimous vote, the owners did their half of the voting fairly quickly. And even with all the increases and the $5 billion in extra revenue that the players are supposed to be getting over the next decade, for some reason, the vote has gone from the executive committee of the NFLPA to the entire player base of the NFL. That's 2,000 people, folks. And you also got to consider, I'm assuming that the NFL player base is somebody who it includes players under so the vote's going to happen way before the NFL draft. So it's not going to be the guys at the combine right now and at pro days right now. But the practice squad guys coming back, the guys on futures come back, contract coming back, the regular 53. Those guys, they're all voting. So it's very interesting. Again, in 2011, things were a bit different. Twitter was around. Facebook was definitely around. But the way that social media is used as a reporting tool, the way that information just flies out super quick and in an instant, that wasn't there in 2011. TV journalism, as far as sports goes, because that's back before newspapers had, basically crashed to the floor. TV journalism and getting stuff on TV whenever the information came in, that was pretty much it. And what really happened on TV was the owners did a PR clinic, made the players look dumb. And I just remember Jeff Saturday shaking hands with the owners. And yeah, that was that. Jeff Saturday shook hands with the owners and then bled out. There was a CBA that, did a lot of harm to the rookies, that anybody can see did a lot of harm to the rookies. And now, I don't know, there's a $100,000 increase. You can be in the pension after 3 seasons. There's a lot of good stuff. And again, PR is PR. PR basically means everything is good at all times. And if it's not good, it's going to be good very soon. That's basically PR. So everybody who's under the NFL's thumb or, who works for NFL.com right now, I'm pretty sure they're going to say all the good things of the CBA. But, all that glitter is not gold. All those cliches. And one big thing that Ian Rappaport said, actually in the middle of recording this, is that one of the tags is going to be gone under the new CBA. So, the league year starts tomorrow, and you can start doing franchise tags in the window. And in the Jaguars case, there's only one guy to franchise. But you have the option of either the transitional tag or the franchise tag. Basically, the CBA, another thing that makes it seem weird on the surface is there's going to be more free agents by default because one of the tags are going. So if you have multiple players that you want to keep, you're going to have to pay them. You can't just tag them for 1 year and keep them exempt. So how does that affect said Jaguars player? How does that affect a lot of small market fans? How does that affect the fans of teams who have cheap owners like the Bengals? We'll get into that after this commercial break. This is the Playmakers Blog Podcast, talking football.
Hey, this is Darren, the Playmakers. I just want to take a moment to thank you guys for listening to us at the Playmakers Podcast. Just to let you know, if you're listening to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, why don't you go ahead and leave us a review. Tell us what you think of the episodes that you listen to, what you think of the podcast in general. If you listen to, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, Castbox, or any other platforms that we're on, follow us. Download the episodes, let us know any kind of way that you want to let us know, whether it's on our Facebook page, the Playmakers Blog Podcast, or on my Twitter page at Playmakers Stuff. Just let us know, because we enjoy interacting with you guys and we want to show our appreciation. So follow us, like us, let us know how we're doing. And thank you for listening to the Playmakers Blog Podcast.
Okay, we're back, and literally as soon as I finished that, Bomani Jones made something very, very interesting, made a comment that Damien Woody also tried to figure out where the party was at. Robert Griffin is, he's a staunch no voter. Now, granted, not cracking any jokes, because Robert Griffin III is still a lot more talented than a lot of quarterbacks out there, a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL scouting combine. But Robert Griffin III ain't making the money that he's supposed to be making being a former number 2 overall draft pick. Robert Griffin III is saying that he's going to vote no, and he's encouraging his peers to vote no. But again, Robert Griffin is the second string quarterback on a team that has an offense that's based around a very specific skill set. Robert Griffin III is probably more valuable to the Baltimore Ravens than any other backup quarterback is valuable to their team in the NFL. That includes the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are either going to be having a backup quarterback that won 6 games last year and won 7 Rookie of the Week awards, or a $22 million backup. The Ravens offense doesn't work with a pocket passer. The Ravens offense doesn't work with the Gardner Minshew. The Ravens offense doesn't work with a Jimmy Garoppolo. And it dang sure doesn't work with a Drew Brees. The Ravens offense is only going to work with Robert Griffin III or Lamar Jackson. One of the tweets that he quoted when explaining why the players should vote no was by a long snapper who said that 65% of the players in the NFL are working off of minimum contracts and that the CBA is going to get them more money, more benefits, and basically more everything. This is why it is kind of tricky to look at this entire situation and hear quarterbacks being the ones to step up first and say that they're voting no. Now, granted, Richard Sherman, cornerback, Stephon Diggs, he said that he's going to vote no. He's a wideout. But again, I think Stephon Diggs has gotten paid. I can't remember. Don't pay attention to the Vikings a lot. Full disclosure. But Stephon Diggs, wide receiver. Michael Thomas just broke that glass ceiling. He just got a 5-year, $100 million deal. And to cash in on that deal, he only had the most receptions in a single season ever, and over 1,700 yards. So wide receivers are starting to break that glass ceiling, and now this is going to be a super deep wide receiver draft. You have one of the biggest stars in the XFL, a slowly budding superstar, wide receiver for the Houston Roughnecks or Rough Riders. So I want to hear more from long snappers. I want to hear more from guys who are drafted in the 4th round or who are getting grossly underpaid and aren't looking at being $90 million plus guys. Jared Goff is a quarterback. If Jared Goff was Jared Goff and had the same pros and cons, but played a different position, do you pay him? Jared Goff was a quarterback. Dak Prescott is a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo is a quarterback. Kirk Cousins is a quarterback. You have to pay them if you want them to be the starting quarterback for your team. Look at the Jaguars and the stupid mistake they made. They did it because Nick Foles is a quarterback. And if you want a quarterback to come to your team in free agency, you have to pay him. Look at what Tennessee or Oakland is going to do if they can get Tom Brady. He is 42 years old. He will be 44 or 45 at the end of whichever contract he signs if he leaves New England. He is a quarterback that has won 6 championships. Quarterbacks are going to have a wildly different opinion than everybody else. And this is why, if you're the fan of a small market team, like unfortunately I am, you start to look at situations like the Yannick Ngakoue situation and think, Now, the Jaguars have decisions to make. AJ Boye, Calais Campbell, those are 2 players where those are big pieces. Those are big pieces. AJ Boye was immediately asked to be the number 1 corner after Jalen Ramsey got traded. And even though it didn't seem like he was ready for that spot, you also have to remember the drop-off that came with trading Jalen Ramsey and putting AJ Boye in as the number 1 corner. You also have to remember that Trey Herndon had 3 picks. And I think his first game was against the Broncos. I want to say that game was week 4. So, 3 picks, I think about 40-something tackles, bunch of passes defense. He looked good. Undrafted free agent entering his 3rd year in the league. That's a good start. But you have 2 first-round picks. So if you have 2 first-round picks, and one of the best corners in the draft might still be there at 20, you don't know if you need to keep AJ Boye. Josh Allen had 12 sacks off the bench. Granted, Todd Wash's scheme needs more of a 3-4 defensive end to be that big end that puts his hand in the dirt, and that is exactly what Calais Campbell is. But at the same time, Todd Wash says he runs a 4-3. The Jacksonville Jaguars should have fired Todd Wash a long time ago. But if Todd Wash can't find a way to have Josh Allen and Yannick Ngakoue be traditional bookend 4-3 defensive ends because he just has to have a 3-4 that he wants to call a 4-3 so desperately. Please get rid of him before the season starts. There is no way if you could have Yannick Ngakoue and Josh Allen, if you were to let Calais Campbell go if he doesn't want to restructure, there is no way you have a guy who had 12 sacks in his rookie year and a guy who's had 37.5 in his first 4 years as your book and defensive ends. There is no way you can't make that work. There is no way a defensive coordinator looks and says it doesn't fit my scheme. That defensive coordinator is an idiot, no matter how long he's been coaching in the NFL. But the thing with the new CBA is Yannick Ngakoue already isn't going to be happy because the franchise tag is only going to pay him like $19 million. He wants 22? Yeah, 22. He wants 110 over 5 years with over 60 guaranteed. Those are what the numbers are floating around the, Jaguars Twitter wave or whatever. These numbers could be inaccurate. They could be spot on. But either way, you have one guy. Everybody else, Jeff Swain, Aubrey Jones, 2 others. You already announced you're not going to take Marcel Darius' option. You're not going to take Jake Ryan's option. Yannick Ngakoue, in-house, drafted in the 3rd round, home run, defensive end, prime position. Just get it done. He's already second best pass rusher in Jaguars history, and he's on his first contract. You haven't had a guy have over 50 sacks in the Jaguars uniform since Tony Brackens. A lot of people don't even know who Tony Brackens is. They won't even recognize his face if they did a Google search or looked him up on Wikipedia and went to his page and saw a picture of him. Just get it done. You have one player to sign. And you are also the franchise at the NFLPA, the same NFLPA that then took the vote to the 2,000 players. This is the same NFLPA that said don't sign with Jacksonville. Re-sign signing with this club if you want to have a favorable experience playing in the National Football League where there are only 32 teams to sign with in the first place. Tom Coughlin, even though he's gone, Tom Coughlin said that he wanted to send a message by overbidding against himself and paying Nick Foles that contract. Well, Yannick Ngakoue is worth the money. Yannick Ngakoue is a proven commodity. He's a starter in this league. He was a key part of the 2017 team, and he's been one of the only bright spots the past 2 years. Even though he held out in the offseason, he didn't do what Jalen did. He didn't set out any games. He played hurt. So you have a guy who played out the last year after holding out. Saw that he wanted changes to be made in his personal situation, but still handled the whole process the best way possible. Now, if you're a Jaguars fan who doesn't have, a bone in the fight, you don't care on the player's side either way, you don't care on the owner's side either way. The bright side is Yannick is the only person to franchise tag. There is no other person to franchise tag. Everybody else's contract who ran up is not worthless, but they're not Yannick. That's the good news. You're going to franchise tag Yannick. Yannick, best case scenario, is at least going to be on the team for another season. The worst case scenario, what's probably going to happen is not only is Yannick going to get undercut $3 million for being on the franchise tag, but Yannick's probably not going to play on the franchise tag, and he's probably going to force his way out with the trade. Now, believe it or not franchising Yannick, letting the free agency year start, and actually outbidding other teams to pay a player that you've homegrown and seen with this same coaching staff, because Doug Marrone was the intern coach for the last 2 games, I want to say, of Yannick's rookie season. If I'm remembering things right, my math is right. Doug Marrone was the interim head coach when Gus Bradley got fired early in the 2016 season. Then he's been the coach since 2017. All those years, Yannick Ngakoue was on the team. So if anybody's going to figure out if that player is worth it, what they can do with that player, and how that player can flourish in whichever scheme the defense coordinator is cooking up, don't you think it's the head coach that's literally had Yannick Ngakoue? Because Doug Marrone was still an assistant coach in 2016. He's been with Yannick Ngakoue his entire career. You mean to tell me that you're going to clear all this cap space, let Yannick Ngakoue walk, draft some defensive tackle or some linebacker or some corner with 2 of the first 3 picks you have in this year's draft, and either sign another defensive end or, what are you doing? You're really going to pay Calais Campbell $17 million? I mean, 3 Pro Bowls, a Defensive Player of the Year award, an All-Pro, Walter Payton Man of the Year, he's right. He is worth $17 million. But again, you have a guy who got 12 sacks last year in his rookie year who only has 3 years left on the contract that you know is going to go down. With this new CBA, are they going to grandfather in the rookie contracts from last year? Are they going to grandfather in the rookie contracts from 2018 to present? Because that 5th year is an option. It's not set in stone yet. It's an ever-changing variable. And if the CBA makes it to where that 5th year option gets even more expensive, well, now you have Yannick Ngakoue on the books and Josh Allen, who you need to account for in a couple years. But that 5th year of Yannick Ngakoue's contract is going to be either during or before the option year of Josh Allen's contract. Now, you might get lucky. Calais Campbell might retire by then. But either way, you're still going to have to account for Yannick's cap hit while needing to pay for Josh Allen. And oh, by the way, Gardner Minshew, he's going to have to get paid. DJ Shark, he's going to have to get paid. What if Trey Herndon becomes a starter? What if the corner you drafted to replace AJ Boye and Jalen Ramsey? What if he becomes a key starter? What if Rodney Harrison becomes one of the best safeties in the league? What if Miles Jack pops up, becomes well worth the second contract, and he says, I've outplayed it? What if he pulls it the wrong reasons? There's a lot of things that can happen. But the only thing that you can really know for sure is 2 things. If your quarterback is good, we might want to pay him. If our best pass rusher is good, we might want to pay him. I guess, if you're a Jaguars, another bright spot you could think of is, thank God we don't have a premier left tackle. I mean, thank goodness that we're looking for a left tackle and that the best offensive lineman right now might be the right tackle entering his 2nd year in the league. When your best offensive lineman is a right tackle, I mean, that's good for the money, but bad for the honey. A lot of people are getting hit when the best offensive lineman is the right tackle. It's not good. But, hey, this is that time of year. Scout Combine GMs are talking. Players are talking. Head coaches who have GM powers, Pete Carroll, Bill O'Brien, staring straight at you. This is the portion of the Combine where everybody's talking. Hopefully, by the time we talk again next week, there'll be better news, more exciting news to share. Rappaport estimated that the player vote will probably take about a week and a half, 2 weeks. He literally said all 3 time frames, like back to back in the span of 10 seconds. It was impressive. So from 1 to 2 weeks, I don't know though, because, like I said, with Twitter being used as a reporting tool nowadays, I don't know if it takes that long. Could or couldn't. But with that being said, that's it for the football. Darnell is sick. So I don't know what's going to happen with the NBA stuff, but if you don't hear from him, it's because you literally can't hear from him. His throat is hurt. So, a little quick run through because we kind of finished the sermon kind of early. The past guy keep talking. Zion Williams is doing very good right now. The New Orleans Pelicans, ironically, during the season of Mardi Gras, have come up from the ashes, and now they might make the playoffs. Who would have thought that drafting a superstar, number 1 overall, because you got a lottery pick that you weren't supposed to get, could help you improve almost instantly? It's almost as if the NBA knew that the number 1 overall pick could instantly turn around a franchise. Ja Morant. Maybe Memphis is just going to be Memphis. By the way, that boy good. That boy real good. I think after a while, Memphis is definitely going to be somewhere. I think Zion and Ja, as far as like being a 1-2. RJ Barrett, I wish. I don't believe this tweet is true, but somebody said that RJ Barrett is actually a righty, but he's shooting lefty for whatever reason. I don't know. It's the Knicks. What can you do? It's the Knicks. Baseball, Astros players are getting plunked during spring training. Best time of the year. What more could you ask for since, the MLB and the MLBPA aren't going to do anything? Maria Sharapova retired at 32. I have jokes, but I won't say them. Let's see. There was something else. Flipping through. Well, I can't remember. And that's okay, because I'm almost at the 45 minute. So you guys have fun. You guys have fun with your vanity searches. You guys have fun again with the XFL this weekend. You guys have fun watching the dudes run around in their tight shirts and tight pants. Nobody's judging. But hey. And shout out to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers did a very nice thing. If you want to know what it is, look it up, because the Buccaneers didn't really do it for the attention, but good on them, and I'm glad that they're caring about the entire base of people who covered NFL scouting combine. So have a good weekend. That's it. Screw the Titans. I'm glad that, tags are going down to 1. I hope they lose everybody in free agency and they overpay for Tom Brady. And yeah, he plays like a 43-year-old. So later.